and welcome to Dish Shelf with Adam White. Today I'm going to be talking about The Complete Mouse by Art Spiegelman. This has been considered a classic since it came out in the 80s, and I just had honestly never gotten around to reading it, and I'm ashamed to say so because it's such an important work. But I don't know why, but I finally just thought, I should really read that because I haven't read it. And I'm really glad I did because it's a fantastic graphic novel. It really it tells the tale, just a heartbreaking tale of Art Spiegelman's father and growing up and having to deal with the Nazis and World War II and living in Poland. And it just again is a heartbreaking story, yet there's some hope in it too, because I mean, you half the book is Spiegelman talking to his dad about reminiscing about his life, and the other half is the reminiscence, which is telling the story of what was actually happening as his father tells it to him. And the first thing that you'll notice, of course, on the front is that they are mice, and there's a cat over the Nazi sign. Well, this is told with anthropomorphic animals. The Jews are all mice, and the Nazis are all cats, which tracks because we know cats are evil. So I'm not a big cat person. But it just kind of is showing that they're exterminating them like rodents. And it just it's sickening and just really, I mean, some parts are hard to read because it's just, you feel so bad for them and what's going on. And nothing like that should have ever happened. And the concentration camps, they spent time even while they were in Poland. They kept thinking, well, we've heard rumors of this, but it can't be true because no one could do that to someone. And his father was pretty well off and married into a family that was well off. And they were really successful. And then the Nazis came about and just really, they took them down an unimaginable trail of heartache and destruction. It was just unimaginable. The art is fantastic. One of the pages that I found the most telling was that down here by my finger where they're taking a path that usually you come to a fork in the road, but their road is a swastika because no matter which way they go, it ends with the Nazis. And I thought that was a really powerful panel in the book showing that, no matter which way you went, you ended up with the Nazis. And the whole thing is told, like I said, with anthropomorphic animals, and the Jewish people are all mice. The Germans are all cats, and the Polish are pigs, which, not sure. I think it was because of the way that the Polish ended up treating the Jews too, because they didn't want to be connected to them, because they didn't want the not on the bad side of the Nazis. So they got the pig treatment. Now, when the Americans come in towards the end, they're dogs, and we all know that dogs are the good guys in the dog and cat fight because dogs are awesome. Uh, but uh, it mainly deals with the story of Art Spiegelman's father, and it's written in where he breaks the fourth wall, and um, there's some of the concentration camps. Uh, it's written where he breaks the fourth wall and he's talking directly about himself and the fact that he is with his father, and he's writing and drawing a comic book about his life, and he shows pages to his father. And so I mean it part of it is like that, so it's really it recognizes itself as a comic being told the story, and it works. Uh, you really get into feeling because you get the relationship with his father, and his father talks in English in a way that his words are kind of in a different order than what a native English speaker would speak them. So you really get a good sense of his father and the fact that he is originally Polish, and that he talks in a way that it really captures his father's voice in this, and it shows the ups and downs he has with his father, and he has a hard time understanding him sometimes, but it was because of what he went through with the Holocaust, and his mother and his father and his whole family got taken to the concentration camps. And it's just about how it's just a downward spiral from when the Nazis take over to them getting to the concentration camps. Now, uh, there's a book one and a book two that he did originally, and it's all collected in here. And the book one is like leading up to where they go to the concentration camps, and then book two focuses on their time in the concentration camps. And it just, I mean, it really affected me. And I really wish I would have read it sooner, but I think that also coming to it as an older adult, that I got more out of it than perhaps I might have when I was younger. But I would honestly say that this should be taught in all high schools across America because, first of all, the history books and everything are crap anymore, and you don't get a real sense of anything. And this is something, the Holocaust, that should never be forgotten because it was despicable, and the things that these people went through just because they were Jewish. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I really have a hard time wrapping my head around it, how you could do that to somebody just because of their religion. Um, which is another reason I'm not a big fan of religion, because this is the kind of stuff that comes from it. But it really should be taught in high schools around the country because I think in high school you're old enough to appreciate the weight of this story, and it really will give you a sense of what happened to these poor people, and the fact that we should never ever let something like that happen again, no matter what, because you have to know the real history of something. History is a powerful thing, and uh, I used to work in a bookstore, and Mouse was actually shelved in history instead of graphic novels, which I don't know how I felt about it, because I think that just because it was an important book, and it won the Pulitzer Prize too. And I think that it should be shelved with graphic novels because it shows the power of the graphic novel and telling a story in a comic book format, and it shows the the real strength of a story in telling it that way, and what can be done with the graphic novel. And I don't have a problem with it being shelved with history too, because maybe it gets more people to look at it than it would in the graphic novels section. But um, it is a history book because it shows you the unimaginable horror of World War II through the eyes of the Jewish people that dealt with just such persecution and unimaginable um, terror that they went through, and what they had to deal with, and the friends they lost and the family they lost. And it was just I mean, beyond any words that I can say, because you know I didn't have to go through that. And it really makes me put some of the problems I have in perspective, to say that to see what you know one person and their family went through to get this. And it was really Art Spiegelman's way of saying that until he interviewed his father for this book, he didn't know what he went through. And I mean, he was his son because he wasn't born until after the war. And it really shows that even the next generation from that group of Jewish people that went through that, that even their next generation that was born after the war didn't even know really how hard it was for their parents and relatives that went through that and what happened to them all. And it shows that if they can be that disconnected even at one generation removed, how removed we are now, almost 80 some years later, uh, that we really don't know what happened. And this really, really important book, again, I think everybody should read it in high school so that you see what goes on, because it's not sugar coated in this book. It does help that he uses the metaphor of the animals, because it gives you a view of it that if it was told strictly with humans, that it would be maybe too much to take. I mean, if that makes sense. But by using the metaphor, and he's actually been told by some critics that he shouldn't have used the mice and the cats and the animals as a metaphor in it. But you know, who told George Orwell not to use animals in Animal Farm? I mean, there's a point to using them. And I'm sure there probably was some idiot that told George Orwell not to use animals in Animal Farm, because there's always somebody like that. But I don't think it lessens the importance and weight of the book. I think it adds to it, because you really get this feeling that they're smaller and they're treated like rodents, and it is just a really powerful message that Art Spiegelman sends through this. Um, I really think, again, that I think it's something that everybody should read at some point in their life, because you really need to remember this part of history so that it's never repeated again, because it's unimaginable, especially political climate of today that, you know, you could see something like this going on again. And it just shouldn't happen. It should have never happened. It should have never been allowed to get like that. But it really is a powerful book. I can't recommend it enough. The Complete Mouse. It's a nice, see, there's some of them at the concentration camp in the end papers, but it's a really nice hardcover, but it's not that expensive, even though it's a hardcover. And I think that's, you know, to try to make it available to more people. And you should get this book and read it, whether you're a comic fan or not. You'll really get a lot out of this book, and it'll really make you appreciate your own life and the fact that you didn't have to go through what these people suffered. And like I said, no words I can say here can relate the importance of this book. And Art Spiegelman really has a masterpiece here, and it's something we should all be thankful for that he did, so that we could see what happened here and what happened during the war, uh, through a first-hand account from his father. So that's all I'll say about it now, because it just, again, it's just a tremendous graphic novel and a really worthwhile story for your time. And I really can't recommend reading it enough. So thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you'll check out The Complete Mouse. Uh, Readily available in print, uh, as it should be, and it should never go out of print, and probably never will. Very important book. Highly, highly recommended. Thank you for hanging out with me this week, and I will catch you next time.